Picture this, 8:47 a.m., your next meeting is approaching fast. You can't remember what you actually promised to your customer last time. It is somewhere in your emails or in your notes. You just don't have enough time to find it. Today we're going to use Claude Cowork to address this issue once forever. Today we are going to build two workflows, a skill and a scheduled task. The first one where Claude pulls the next meeting date, list all of the actions which are spreaded across transcripts and emails, and give us back a priority list in an Excel. And next, a scheduled task, which gonna clean up our desktop or any other folder which we want to at specific time without us asking about anything. Okay, before we're gonna build anything, let's quickly break down what is a scheduled task and what is a skill. Scheduled task run automatically. You set the time, the instruction, you give a permission to specific folders, and Claude run it in the background without you touching anything. A skill, a saved workflow on a process. It doesn't run on a schedule, it runs when it's triggered by the wake up signal, and it follows exactly the steps which you described during the build process. Let's start with building our skill. Whenever I'm gonna ask about my next upcoming meeting with a certain customer, I want this skill to first check my Google Calendar where the next meeting is happening. Second, check all of my emails, preferably in last 7 days with this customer to find out what was the last conversation. And third, analyze the last transcript from the previous meeting to find out if there is any overlapping between transcripts and the emails. I want to know if I'm owning anything to the customer or do I need to ask about any specific questions. How are we going to build the skill today? First, we're just gonna describe the process and test how the entire workflow works. Whenever we are satisfied with the end result, we're simply gonna ask Claude Cowork to use built-in skill creator and turn all of our conversation into the skill. Let's start doing this right now. I'm using Whisperflow to dictate all of my commands. Before we're gonna start a process of building a skill, let's make sure that all of our connections are in place. For this skill, we're gonna require 3 connections. Gmail, which is already in place, Google Calendar, which is going to do next, and the third one, Fireflies, which I used to create transcripts during the meeting. We need to go to Customize, connect your apps. Gmail is already connected. Next, Google Calendar. It's gonna ask to authorize. Okay. Connect to Google Calendar. Next one, Fireflies. Right, all done. Let's start our meeting intel. Hey, can you check when is my first meeting with Echo customer? Going to check my calendar. Echo, we'll see how it's gonna deal with that. I would suggest to start with allowance once. At least you see what steps Cowork is taking. Whenever you're feeling more comfortable if that's what is happening in the background, then you can just allow for always. I find it interesting to see what Claude is exactly doing. He's struggling to find a next meeting, maybe because of the echo instead of echo. Let's see what's next. I would expect that he would come up with a suggestion the next closest meeting will be with Echo. Yeah, that's what is happening exactly now. Yes, this is the customer I'm asking about. Okay, perfect. Yes, I would like you to help me to prepare to this meeting. I would like you to do 2 things. One, can you please check my email and search in last 7 days if there is any communication with this customer. And second, go to the Fireflies, to my last transcript, and scan if there are any open actions which I need to fulfill before the meeting. Claude is asking me questions. I'm describing exactly what I expect this skill to do. I'm trying to be as precise as I can, describing what exactly actions I expect Claude to take to fulfill what I want to achieve. Claude just lists me all of the actions which we agreed to take during our last meeting. He also cross-checked this with any previous emails to validate if they are overlapping or thing which is not matching to each other. I'm really satisfied with the result which I'm getting right now. I know exactly what steps I need to take before my next meeting. So next, I'm going to ask Claude to create an Excel file which I can easily follow, prioritize the action according to the date when they were created. Right hand side, you can see the progress, which steps were taken, and also the context which connectors, files are being involved in this exercise. I ask a skill to save a copy of the file on my drive. Right now, Claude is asking me which file he should use. It is an important step. Whenever you're allowing Claude to do actions on your drive, you need to be aware that possibly something can go wrong. I would suggest to create a safe zone where all of the files related to Cowork, so any input and any output, will be storage only there. That's limiting the scope. Claude, where is he able to do changes? And in this way, you can lower down the risk that something gonna go wrong. The task is completed. Let's see if the file is already created in the folder which we select. 1804, so it's this one. Let's see how it looks. We have source, date created, and the priority. This worked really well. Of course, there will be some fine-tuning after using this skill multiple times. That's a regular process. You cannot expect that skill will be perfect at the first time. What you're going to do next, I'm going to ask Claude to use skill creator, a built-in function of Claude, and turn our conversation into the skill which I can use every time in the future when I want to prepare myself for a meeting. Hey, I'm really satisfied with the results, and I would like to create a skill based on the conversation which we just had. So every time when I need to prepare myself for upcoming meeting, I would like to follow exactly the process which we described today. Can you help me to create the skill based on that? Couple of questions from Claude's side to make sure that the process is described in a very detailed way. Here is another interesting part. In one of the previous videos, we were talking about when actually to use a skill and when not to. And one of the criteria we were looking into was, can Claude produce same quality result without using the skill? If that's the case, there is no sense of building a skill. And that's exactly what happened here. In one of the evaluations, Claude basically checked the results, and just like that, skill is created. It's gonna kick in every next time when I want to prepare for a meeting. Let's quickly recap why the skill is so important and what Cowork actually is allowing you to do. We create our intelligence layer before every meeting where we can search from level of one application through our calendar, our Firefly notes, or any other provider which you're using, and our emails. In one place, by one command, we can combine everything and get a full picture of the situation, which is going to save so much time in a preparation on every meeting. Why this is a skill, not a scheduled task? My meetings are not happening on a regular schedule, so I want to have a possibility to fire it every time before the meeting is coming. If you have anything what is happening regularly, if you would have this kind of a meeting which is happening every Monday, every Friday, you can actually build in a skill into the scheduled task. A scheduled task is something what is happening on the same basis, so you don't need to trigger this manually. We're going to trigger this skill by saying, prepare me to the meeting. When you have a scheduled task, basically you don't need to do anything. It's just following the predefined schedule. Let's jump back into the Cowork and quickly create a scheduled task. The process which you're going to use, it's very similar as we use for creating a skill. First, we're going to execute one run of this scheduled task. Whenever we are satisfied with the results, we're going to ask Claude to recreate this into the scheduled task. Steps which you're going to follow are, first, we're going to describe and observe how the scheduled task is behaving. We're going to be very clear about what Claude can decide by himself and what we want to be in control to validate. The purpose of the scheduled task which I want to create is to help me to keep my desktop organized. I have this rule: whenever my folders and files are approaching the picture and start covering it, it's difficult for me to keep track of that's what is happening. Beginning of the week, I'm very strict and saving my files into proper folders. End of the week, I start freestyling a little bit and start to create folders on files which are named now, now 1, now 01, now 22222. It's not great, I know about that, but that's unfortunately how I work. And here comes Claude. I'm the mess one, he is the organized one. Let's start with the new task. Hey Claude, can you please look at my desktop and make a list of all of the folders which are there and all of the files which are living there. Before we're gonna do this, we're gonna allow Claude to go to my desktop. I'm going to select the folder, which in this case, Claude can access. I'm going to allow it. Again, I'm not going to allow always. I'm going to do this only for this specific purpose. In my opinion, this is a good hygiene in the beginning. You are able to track what exactly is happening. Whenever you're getting comfortable, you can go into the YOLO mode. I'm getting back accurate list of my folders, 17. and my files, 22 of them. Okay, so I would like you to help me to organize that. I would like to keep my folders as they are, but I would like to clean up all of the random files which have all of this like stupid names, now 01, and all of that into one folder for my review. When you're gonna do this, I also would like to get like a sneak peek what each file is, so I don't need to open all of them. If the description of the file will be, it is an empty file, I don't need to open it before I'm gonna cancel it. Your desktop now is tidy. Let's see about that. Obviously, there is way less happening here, which I like. Where is the folder which was desktop cleanup review? Okay, perfect. This is my file when all of the mess is living here. What we're going to do now, we're going to try to reverse that process and create a scheduled task just by asking Claude, hey, reverse that for me. Important note here, Claude Desktop is fantastic, but it is slow and it is relatively expensive in terms of tokens. Try to implement here just by talking. We're gonna ask Claude to use an older model, Haiku, to do this exercise. We absolutely don't need a most powerful model to sort out our files. In this way, we will be able to save on tokens. This is one of the strategy how to lower the cost and save your limits to use proper model for the proper task. Okay, I'm satisfied how this worked out. I would like to create based on that a scheduled task. So our scheduled task is created. This time it went rapidly fast comparing to skill creation. Two things. One, suggestion from Claude to run this now to see if the result is okay before it's gonna start running automatically. Worth to do this. Second, there is a comment about the model. We are prompt to go to the scheduled task and select the model there. Whenever you're gonna save it, that's gonna be running every time with this selected model. So let's do this now to make sure that we're not burning our tokens to such an easy task. And even here, Claude is suggesting us that task is straightforward enough that Haiku should handle it well. Let's go to schedule tasks. We have here our Friday 4 p.m. task. Default model, meaning whatever kind of model are we using at this moment, that's the model which will be used. Let's change this to Haiku. Save. And let's test it as Claude suggested. We're gonna run it. Okay, I was actually thinking if that's the right test because we don't have any new stuff laying around. However, Claude just came up to us with the information that the desktop is already clean. There is no any files flying around. So that would be the proof that task is working as scheduled. So again, a success. Right now, every Friday, 4 p.m., messy desktop will be swapped and created into something more manageable. Today we focus on execution. If you would like to make a step back and understand better what is a skill, I break down all of the Anthropic rules, how to build a perfect skill in a previous video. If you are reaching any problem to set up your Claude Code environment and running into a known Windows error, I also made another video about that. Links are on the screen right now. Thank you for watching.